Hey, welcome to Black Men Speak. This is the host Keith Dent, and I just wanted to start by acknowledging some stars that we've lost recently. Well, for 2023, that is, and Lance Reddick. Anybody from The Wire. True Goy the Dove, from rapper Ron Cephas Jones. Um, DJ Casper, the Cha Cha Man, and just this past week we lost Andre Brower. Those are just some of the few brothers that we lost this year. But what was striking about these men is the oldest one was Ron Cephas Jones, and he was only 66 years old. And so today we're going to talk about the physical lives of our black men and what we can do um, about that. And I say physical is the physical part of us, because over the past years, with the pandemic and things of that nature, we've been focusing a lot more on our mental health. But we can't neglect our physical health, and so our life expectancy, and I've seen some studies where we're, of course, we're at the lowest at 71.9 years of age. That might have gone down to as low as 61 because of the pandemic. Haven't I'd love, and over the course of probably 2024, we may have a doctor on to kind of dispute some of those numbers and the things that are going on. But needless to say, we are at a stage where we are the lowest, and we need to do something about it. We are and across all races and genders, most of us are dying from the big three, which is heart disease, stroke, and cancer. Um, but we're dying at a 30% more rate from heart disease than other races. 60% from stroke, and this is whopping. We are 75% less likely to have health insurance. So, and that means a couple of things. So, we can't get the treatment that we need, one, and two, we're not going to the doctor often enough to catch the illnesses in time for us to live longer. And so I ran across a study, an initiative called the Black Men's Health Project. And one of the things in one of the videos that they introduce is that one of the quotes that they said, and I thought was fascinating, is that we live our lives behind a mask. We don't tell the truth, which means that we are apt to just man up and say we're good. And, you hear funny stories like, are you good? What's good? Are you good? And we're like, oh, I'm good. And we won't talk about some of the challenges that we have mentally and physically. And it's causing us to live shorter lives than our counterparts. So then this week, I came across a letter that was written in the Indianapolis Recorder by a brother named Collin Mays, a 33 African American man that's at one juncture weighed over 400 pounds. It didn't address that in the letter, but in talking with him, that's what he told me, and I was totally blown away. And just one, had to have him on the show just to talk about the letter, because he challenges black men to get moving and to mean it. So I was like, okay, why is he challenging men to do this? And to mean it is like, okay, basically telling us as men to stop talking smack and just get up and start doing it. So I wanted to say, well, why do you feel you need, you as a brother, why you feel you need to call us out like that in the letter. And I wanted to just chat with him about it. And plus, he's a frat brother of mine. And I thought, well, hey, any other way to get to talk to him and hear about his journey? What a better way to do it. But before I, have him on, I just want to tell you a little bit about him. He serves as the president and founder of LMS Solutions. It's a strategic planning consulting firm aimed at assisting local governments and nonprofits. And most recently, he served as director of Department of Economic Inclusion for the City of Cincinnati. Woo, woo, that's my hometown, so awesome. Shout out to that. And my peeps in Cincy, he has a long passion for public service. He spent his entire career in the public sector and believes the power of giving back. He has a degree in political science from Western Michigan University and a master's of public administration from Oakland University. He's been featured in many publications, and one of the other things we'll talk about is that he's the co-chair of the Soul of Philanthropy in Michigan. And he led a volunteer effort of about 25 people and raised $400,000. So I can't wait to talk about that. So, brother Mays, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Brother Dent, what's happening, man? It's good to be here with you.
I'm glad you're here. I really am, and I can't wait to chop it up with you. And because you just called some brothers out, in the letter that you wrote, I guess this week in an Indianapolis Recorder. So my first question I really wanted to get started with is, what made you decide to write the article in the first place, kind of challenging men to not only get moving, but to mean it. Don't just really say, "Oh, I'm going to move this year. I'm going to focus on getting moving and getting active," and then not do it. So, yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Absolutely, Keith. And thank you again for having me on your show, man. I really enjoyed the work that you do. I think Black Men Speak is a fantastic podcast. Man, just glad to be here with you, brother.
Thank you.
It was kind of more so a call to action, the article in the Indianapolis Recorder. I read another article in the Authority Health, which is based here in Detroit. I'm in the Detroit area. And in the publication, it stated that 61 years old is the average life expectancy for Black men in America. And of course, we can't believe everything that we read in the papers, right? I mean, we
Right,
we know
right.
that, especially for us. We understand that the distrust in media. You definitely can't believe everything you read. But I have on good authority that this publication, I know the people that are there, and it's credible. So I'm wondering, from that 71-year-old age, which you had mentioned, reference earlier, to 61, I'm thinking some of that data has to come from the pandemic, right? Has to come from maybe some other challenges that we've seen, especially from the mental health standpoint. Suicide rates have gone up as well, but nonetheless, I wanted to do kind of a call to action for brothers, particularly, to get out and move. Myself personally, I've lost over 200 pounds from um, 2015. I went on a journey in 2015, and I was fed up. I said, "You know what? I'm
Mm.
tired of this." I mean, at my highest weight, I was 419 pounds. And I keep in mind, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5", but
Okay. Wow. Okay.
even being 6'5" and 400 pounds is just not healthy. And I was sluggish. I had no energy, man. I was 25 years old. I was like, "Look, this is not cool. This is not acceptable." Um, so I had to become extremely disciplined with my diet, had to become extremely disciplined with just waking up and being active, and I had to become extremely disciplined with my mind. I had to make sure that I was changing my habits around food, but especially around movement, and making sure that I was getting my movement, my cardio in throughout the day.
Mm,
The
mm.
American Heart Association recommends, at least the last time I checked, 150 hours of moderate exercise per week.
That's a week, right? Yeah.
That's a week, and I think that's too low. And I know that might scare some people because they'll say, "Man, I'm struggling just to get to 75 throughout the week," because you have family, you got a job, you have other commitments, and it is challenging to fit in exercise. But the 30 or 45 minutes or even an hour that you spend, whether it's on the stationary bike, whether it's on a row machine, which is a great workout, by the way,
Mhm.
whether if it's on the treadmill or whether if it's on the elliptical, which is my favorite machine to use from a cardio standpoint, you have to do it because it's going to not only transform your mindset, transform your day, but it's going to make you feel like, you know what, I just accomplished something that was really difficult. And I'm able to go out now and conquer the rest of the day and the rest of the world. So whenever you can fit it in, my preference is the morning. I highly encourage especially brothers to get up in the morning and work out. It's tough as we get older. It's tough as we have more responsibilities because our days get shifted around. And I know for me personally, if I don't go in the morning, I'm going to have every excuse in the book as to why I can't go after work, right? Or why
Yeah.
come 5 or 6 o'clock. It's too much, and I'm just not going to get to it. So encouraging people to move. So
Mhm.
every
Mhm.
day we should be active. Every day we need to have movement. And the reason why the title is Black Men Get Moving in This Time Mean It, because for a long time I always had those New Year's resolutions. I'm gonna start fresh January 1. I'm gonna
Mhm. Mhm.
change my habits. I'm gonna do and up until 2015, 2016, it never happened. It was just all talk. Or I would go for a couple days. Oh, I'm tired. This doesn't matter, and I'll figure it out later, right? Or I'll get to it when I can get to it. And
Mhm.
there's no time like the present to invest in yourself.
Right.
And when you think of investments, it has to be within yourself first and foremost.
Well, that leads to just, and I'm not so many questions, but a couple of questions. Was there a life event or any specific event that led you to say, okay, 2015, I am going to make a commitment to doing this?
Keith, that's a great question. I've been asked that like numerous times, and I was thinking about it today before we started this podcast. Like, what was kind of that aha moment for me? And I come from a very athletic family. I would say that for me, I was the only one that was overweight, right? So it was kind of like, I mean, I love food. Don't get me wrong. Like
Mhm.
I still love food. Like I still love dessert, but just in moderation. What really did it for me was transforming my mind around, my desire to eat, right? And eating was kind of a coping mechanism. You deal with so many issues in life, and for me, my drug, if you will, was food.
Mhm.
And I would turn to it when I was happy, turn to it when I was sad, turn to it when I was having a great day, a tough day. It just became everything that I needed to just kind of ease
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
uh, ease myself, right? But what did it for me was I started thinking long term. So I started thinking, what happens when I get to be 60 years old? What happens if I can even live to be 60 years old at 400
Mhm.
pounds? I mean, I'd probably be struggling to make it to 50, right? So then I started to think long term about finances. And I started to think long term about if I'm working, if I'm paying into a system for Social Security, paying into a system for 401k, paying into a system for Roth IRA, which everybody needs to have, by the way. So if you don't have a Roth IRA, you need to open one today. um, I need to be able to live long enough so that I can enjoy myself and I can enjoy my money. And I can ideally pass down a legacy to my kids, and not just a legacy of financial means, but a legacy of health and a legacy of proper nutrition. So it was
Mhm.
so much a financial reason and a business reason. Um, and it certainly had personal benefits too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Neighbors just commented they don't call it comfort food for nothing. Congratulations, Connor. And thank you, Dr. Neighbors, for commenting. I can't wait to speak to you about the project, which we'll talk about later. Um, but you said you came from a family of athletes. And so were you athletic when you were younger? And over time, did the weight, well, I guess, it happened over time. Um, I would love to hear that part of it because, I think for a lot of, especially as men, we, for the most part, we are athletic because that's kind of a way that we get validation through sports, and not our minds so much. And so, did the kind of weights, and then the weight will sneak up on us because one, we're not as active as we used to be, and then before you know it, we can get to a point where it's like, okay, well, it is what it is. So, I'd love to hear that part of it. What was the journey? Did it take a very long time before you realized you were at that point, or was it, just kind of because you had this, I guess, addiction to food, so to speak.
Yeah, I was a big kid, man. I was a big kid really all my life. So, um, looking back on it now, being 6'5", I could have been a beast on the football field, right?
Okay.
But no, man. I did I played some hockey growing up. Some of those kind of junior leagues and whatnot. But I was a big boy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I remember, like, my dad's always been super fit, super in shape. Like, he would come home and devote an hour to, just being on the treadmill. Like, it didn't matter, like, any other challenges that he had, or if he had a tough day, like,
Hmm.
he would just be dedicated to it. And my dad is 73 now, and he is in incredible shape for being 73. And um, but again, kind of just having seeing it. So it's like I saw it in practice, right? And it looked good, but the carrot cake looked good too. So it was just a challenge for me to, again, kind of shift my mindset around what it meant for longevity and what it meant for myself. And then two, some of my peers that I saw um, didn't have proper eating habits. I mean, when you're in middle school or high school, right? Who is going to have proper eating habits? But um, so many of the people that I grew up with that were kind of on the thinner side, are now asking me for tips about, well, how did you do? Because now they're trying to get
Hmm.
back to what they
Hmm.
were in
Right.
the high school days. So
And of course, we as men as well can also not be very kind to our brothers, especially and so was that the case also? And how did that impact you making the switch to take control over this aspect of your life?
yeah, I mean, I think growing up, man, you're always picked on for something, right? I mean, if I
Hmm.
wasn't overweight, it would have been something else, right? I mean, it's
Hmm.
just kind of the nature of growing up. It's not right under any means to be bullied, but it's just kind of what I think everybody goes through, at, adolescent stage, and people grow older, and people change, and people like, man, I was such a jerk back in high school or in middle school, right? And
Right. Right.
but it's kind of what I think everybody goes through. Um, what I'd say, my transformation, like I said, at 25, I was a grown man at that point.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it was more so a matter of me just thinking, like, long term, having a look in the mirror with myself, like, okay, Colin, how do you plan to sustain yourself? You're 25. How do you plan to sustain yourself for the next 25 years, being at, over 400 pounds? And I just kind of came to the realization that there's no way to sustain it. There's no way to have longevity when you're, when you're
Hmm.
suffering inside. And so many of the challenges, seep through into the physical aspect, right? Because when you're carrying around that much weight, man, everything is challenging. Day to day tasks just get to be too much.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, right. And then what I thought was fascinating, and I wanted to, you had mentioned how as you started to work out, those 45 minutes became your therapy sessions. So there were a couple of questions. Well, one, before you embarked on this challenge, did you did you actually go to any physical or any professional doctors for any aspect, and they gave you advice, or did you embark on this journey entirely on your own?
So I did this journey entirely on my own. I didn't go to a doctor and say, "Hey, give me a meal plan and I'll follow it." Um, I had to really create my own pathway. And to anybody that's listening that wants to lose weight or has a substantial amount of substantial amount of weight to lose, it really has to be your decision. It's nice to maybe tell a medical professional what your goals are, what you're going to embark on. But a lot of these doctors, man, they don't believe you. So if you tell them that, they're just going to look at you and say, "Oh, okay, that's nice," and we'll see you next year, and we'll weigh you in, and it'll be the same thing, or I'll be subscribing you with some medicine, right? Prescribe you some medicine. Um, so you really have to do it for you, and you really have to do it with a goal in mind in terms of why you want to be healthy, why you want to be in shape, what does it mean to you, and um, what I would say too is that when it came down to it, it was really the first thing that I cut out was the pop, and I was never really a big pop or soda. I'm sorry, I'm in Detroit, so we call soda pop, right? But I was never really a big like soda person at all. But
Okay.
that was the first thing that went was a soda, and to this day, I don't drink anything but water. I'm a teetotaler, so I don't drink alcohol. I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
juices. It's just strictly water. I have a gallon and a half of water a day,
Gallon and a
and
half.
then just being strict with your your eating schedule, what you're eating, and then going back to what you said earlier about the physical kind of turning my workout session into my therapy. I can't go a day without whether if it's lifting weights or if it's doing cardio. I do cardio every day, and I will do cardio on the elliptical. That's my preference. But whatever you can do to just be active and get going, brothers, that's what I'm encouraging all black men to do is to just put your foot out there and do something. Because we have got to live long enough to enjoy ourselves, our family, and our money.
Okay. That's fascinating, and also kind of also goes against convention because we always say, well, we have to go see a doctor to get baseline numbers, at least to know what we can do. But it seems like you had enough resilience and enough determination to do it on your own, which is applauds to you. I think that's great because one of the comments that came out that was on the website is that we as black men live with with a mask on all the time. So did you feel that you had on a mask and you had to, by looking in the mirror, remove the mask in order to really um do this as part of your journey?
Um, yeah, I mean, if the mask is, um, not being accountable to myself, yeah, I had to take that off, and I had to just have a real conversation with myself and say, "Hey, look, this is my life. This is my responsibility. I can write my own journey, and I just have to be the one that's going to take control." I think the thing too that you realize when you're going through any major transformation, if you're losing weight, if you're quitting alcohol, if you're, doing anything that is going to be kind of life altering, you realize that a very strong mental game. It's a very strong desire to make a change, and um, ultimately, it does come down to you, and you have to be the one that's willing to uh, be as disciplined as possible. And when everybody else is saying, no, 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 that's okay, just do this or do that, you have got to be strong willed and seeing your vision through.
Hmm. Absolutely. So I guess, have you received any feedback actually from, because that letter was written, I guess, earlier this week, or I think it was earlier this week, right? Or sometime last week. Did you get any feedback from the letter from Brothers, and what did they say?
So I've gotten 16 emails
Okay.
since that article went out, and um, majority, actually, no, I'm sorry, not majority, all have said very positive comments, very positive things about me motivating them to get out there and just be active and mean it this time, right? I mean, not using even January 1 as the start date, but using December 12th as a start date, using December,
Hmm.
17th today as a start date.
Right.
I do want to give special acknowledgement to Dr. Harold Woody Neighbors, who I think is on this. I can't see if he's still here, but
Yeah, he's still here.
um, I want to give special recognition to Dr. Neighbors. Dr. Neighbors is actually a big reason why I embarked on my long journey around physical health and also mental health. Dr. Neighbors has a research program, Man Up, Man Down, um, which he's a longtime professor at U of M, now lives on the East Coast. But Dr. Neighbors has been a champion for all of us in terms of addressing Black men's health. And I also want to give a special acknowledgement to Kevin Dedner, who is originally from Little Rock, Arkansas. He's also frat, Keith, and
Okay.
he's based in the D.C. area now. But Kevin has been a champion for Black men's mental health, mental well-being, um, showcasing what it means for us to be healthy in our mind, which also translates into our body. And Dr. Neighbors, Kevin, and myself are on a quest in 2024 and beyond to go across the country promoting Black men's health.
Hmm.
So more to come on that, but want to give special acknowledgement to them and thank them for their partnership.
Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. And so, from the local, I guess, a local perspective, since people have seen, I mean, you've lived in that area, I guess, for, I guess, a long period of time, and they've seen your transformation. You can't, I mean, I'm sure it doesn't go noticed. So how has it, from a, what has been kind of the most interesting comments or observations that you have, feedback that you've gotten from someone?
One person that I've known for um, probably 15 years or so uh, told me, said, "I didn't think you could do it."
Mm,
That was an interesting comment. Um, a lot of the other comments though, just positive. You look great, and happy for you, this, that, the other. But again, the real reason why I did it, man, was because I wanted to challenge myself. It was something that, even with all the awards that I've won, the degrees, it was one thing that I had not been able to accomplish. And to me, it's the most meaningful because um, no one could ever take it away from me, right? It's what I worked for. As long as I keep working at it, I'll be as healthy as I possibly can be.
mhm.
Um, but just kind of reshaping your mindset around exercise and food. It's a very tough thing, and I know that Dr. Neighbors would agree with this. It's a very tough thing to reprogram yourself, essentially,
And,
from
and
what you
so,
have,
yeah.
yeah, from
Uh,
what you have experienced.
and what are some of the things you had to reprogram? So, and I know you talked about the water, I know, but Food. So what was your food of choice? So if you were really down in the dumps and you what was the food that you had to have?
Man, okay, so I'm gonna tell you this too. Tell you this too, Keith. I still, I still have cheat days, man. So I have a cheat
Okay.
meal once a week.
Well, hey, I mean, I get it. You still living, you know?
So I have a cheat meal once a week. No, my go-tos always would be pizza, um, yams, Thanksgiving and Christmas time, man. Those are always and still are always good times, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
not with
absolutely.
family, of course, family, but you got, the food that accompanies that as well. Um, big fan of Chinese food. I mean, really whatever I get my hands on back
Okay.
then.
Yeah.
And I'm a big dessert guy, so I still enjoy, cakes and ice cream and candies and things like that.
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
my favorite of all time is carrot cake. I'll still destroy a carrot cake, man,
Okay.
if it's in front of me. But no, my meals, and this is probably going to scare people, but my meals got so and still are so disciplined and strict. When I wake up in the morning, do my exercise, I'll have oatmeal, banana, blueberries for breakfast. And then for lunch, I'll have some veggies, chicken breasts, an apple, and maybe like a fiber bar. And then for dinner, I will have maybe some ground turkey and veggies or fish and veggies. And then here's a kicker, so people still don't believe, but I will have an ice cream sandwich or something sweet um, to kind of close out my day. Because again, we're all human, but I'll stop
Mm,
eating after 5. So I do practice the intermittent fasting. I'll stop eating after 5, and I will just do whatever I can, whether if it's work, whether if it's just unwinding, maybe trying to catch up on some other assignments, some other tasks that I have to get done. But I will stop eating after 5 and I won't resume until 8 because your body it's a lot like taking a test when you think about it, right? You can't cram everything in the night before, or at least I have before. Man, I've been successful at that before in the past with school, right? But for the most part, you can't cram everything in, go take a test the next day and expect your brain to process everything. It's the same way with food. I can't eat, a huge hamburger with fries at 9 p.m., wake up at, 7 a.m. and go eat, pancakes. I mean, your body's just like, well, what are you doing? Like, well, I need time to figure out what did I have, and I need to process what I had. And I think that that's a practice that certainly worked well for me. So, if anybody hasn't tried intermittent fasting, I definitely recommend it.
5 o'clock. Wow. Even the seniors are like, what?
I told you
Man.
my window is disciplined and very strict, but as long as you have some form of
Mhm.
fasting, man, I would definitely recommend a 14 or 15-hour fast. And
Okay.
let's say that you get your day started at 9 o'clock. In theory, you should stop eating by 6 or 7 at the latest.
Mhm. So that's you consider your fast when you stop eating at 5 and going all the way to the next day,
Yes.
as your fast of is there ever a time where you go a whole day where you won't eat at all, just water?
I have not. I have not done that,
Mhm. Okay.
and I don't think I'd ever do that.
Okay.
But
Okay. Because I know some
um,
people they do that as well. I wonder if that was part of your regimen.
they do, and kudos to those people because I definitely need some nourishment, especially when you're doing the level of activity and,
Right. Right.
you definitely need to eat something, right? I don't believe in starvation. That's not a way to get healthy at all.
Hmm,
So,
hmm. Okay. 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 Great. Um, so in essence, do you feel that we as black men have the ability to heal ourselves? We don't necessarily need our doctors to do that for us. We can heal ourselves as long as, but of course we need to decide that we need to have the discipline in order to do it. Um, do you feel that's a true statement?
I think a lot of our challenges are hereditary, but I think that um, through proper diet and through us being intentional with movement, I think that we can certainly work to improve our health. And there are some things like hypertension, which we're more likely to get, and all of it really stems from diet. But then, of course, again, genetically, we do have a greater disproportion when it comes to health. But I think that the things we can control, if I woke up or wake up tomorrow and say, look, I'm going to look in the mirror and this is what I can do to control myself. If I can just control myself, then I have the opportunity um, to write a story that I want to read. So it really does, in my opinion, start with ourselves, and of course, understanding that we are at a disadvantage when it comes to health equity, um, and always have been, unfortunately. Which is even more of a reason why we have to take our health into our own hands. And we need support. We need a support group. We
Hmm.
need to make sure that we're interacting with our 100 Black Men clubs, our fraternities. Need to make sure that we're going out to some of these neighborhood kind of exercise groups. There's a group in Detroit called We Run 313, and they're dedicated just to running. There's another group called Black Men Run, right? Black Men Hike.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, there's so many ways to get active, and I think it just comes down to us having that support and us just going out there and doing it.
Well, and also bringing somebody along. I think we don't do enough of that. Whereby if you know you run, then invite someone to run with you. And I think fellowshipping a lot and would go a long way. Whereby there's the black women run, black women. They'll invite other people to come. They'll invite their friends, like, okay, we love that brunch, but let's go run first, and then we'll go get something to eat. And I think if we I think also collectively have to start doing that in 2024. Is like, hey, um, we know we because here's the things we're gonna know. We know that our boy's gonna say he's good. We're not necessarily gonna press him. What does good mean? We're gonna say, okay, he said he was good, and then we'll leave it at that. I think if we start to double down and say, okay, what do you mean you're good? What have you done this? Have you done that? Um, because we don't also want to hold our own ourselves accountable. So if we start to make a little bit of those changes, and I definitely am going to try to do that myself. I mean, I'm a cyclist. I don't ride as much as I would like, um, but I do walk every day, and I think we have to make sure. And I'm accountable to my best friend because he makes sure he walks as well, because that's when we usually will catch up, and those things. And we have to try to do collectively do more of that. So. But thank you. I think this is great. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit because you also have this project that you're the co-chair of, which is called the Souls of Philanthropy. And so I wanted to hear a little bit about that because I thought that was also fascinating, and what that was about. And yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, the Soul of Philanthropy is a project that I worked on for 5 years. I saw the exhibit. Let me back up. It stems from a book which was written by a woman named Valeda Fullwood, who's based out in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the book is called Giving Back. And Valeda chronicles Black giving, Black generosity from all over the country. Because she's based in Charlotte, the book has a lot of references to Charlotte and North Carolina Black philanthropy. But she created this exhibit called The Soul of Philanthropy, which started in 2015. 2013 or 2014. I want to say 2014. And the first one was in Charlotte, right? And ever since then, she's been able to like meet different people from other cities that are like, I'd love to tell the story of my hometown's Black side philanthropy. Showcasing how Black Americans give, where we give, why we give, how we give. And a statistic that a lot of people don't know or don't realize is that we are the most philanthropic group in the entire country, both in dollars and in service. Um, but when you hear the word philanthropist, you're typically thinking of somebody taking out a check and writing you, $1 million, or you're typically thinking of somebody that is of a different race than a Black person in this country that is donating millions of dollars. And while that certainly is a form of philanthropy, the philanthropy that we touch upon in the soul of philanthropy is that community spirit, that giving. Keith, you're a philanthropist. Just by this podcast alone, you're a philanthropist because you're providing us information that's useful to everyday living for the Black man in America. Dr. Neighbors is a philanthropist because of his research and trying to help Black men's mental and physical challenges. The same with Kevin Dedner, philanthropist.
Hmm.
But we have to really change the narrative around what does the word philanthropy mean. So the exhibit showcases that we're all philanthropists. Everyday people are philanthropists. Um, we had 5 key areas that we focused in on in Detroit. In addition to the national exhibit, we focused in on education because teachers are definitely philanthropists. They don't do it for the money. Um, we focused in on the Black business community, large and small and medium-sized businesses and their owners that have given back to the Detroit community. We focused in on the Divine Nine, oh 06. But all of the Divine Nine are a form of philanthropists and through service and action. We focused in on general community champions, the neighborhood grandmother that's taking care of everybody's kids, or that's cooking a warm meal for everybody on the block. We focused on that. We focused in on clergy, which is huge in our community. I think when you think of pastors, that's definitely a form of philanthropy. I mean,
Hmm.
so many of us learn to give. Actually, I probably safe to say all of us learn to give through the
Right.
church, right?
Yeah.
Tithing.
For the most part. Yeah.
So I mean, we had different key areas that we focused in on in Detroit. The exhibit's currently housed in New Orleans. So New Orleans has kind of their own spin on it. It'll be in New Orleans until February,
Okay.
and then after that, it's headed to Little Rock, Arkansas. Um, the um, local Detroit component is returning in 2025.
Okay.
And not a lot of people know that, so this is the first time I'm mentioning it. But we are going to bring it back because we had great success with it. And I want to give a very special shout out to my co-chair, Nakia Washington, who I had the privilege of working with on this, and our entire committee to bring it to life.
Well, I think that's fascinating. And I like the fact that, yes, I'm a philanthropist as well as others just by what they provide. And I think and there's so many narratives we just need to change to view it ourselves more positively. And I think that study that you, or not study, but the exhibit that you presented and got other people to donate, I think is really great. And kudos to you for that. Um, and I
It
really
was
appreciated you highlighting that.
it was a black led project. I was promoting black philanthropy, promoting different kinds of black philanthropy. We raised over $400,000. Kellogg, which was one of our first contributors, when they found out about it, WK Kellogg Foundation, they gave us $100,000 right off the bat and said, absolutely, we want to hear these stories, we want to tell these stories. Um, so I think having the ability to showcase philanthropy, black philanthropy, especially from a community perspective, was huge.
Okay. Well, even though we've already started kind of the journey, because I didn't wait to January to do this podcast about getting back, taking our physical health more seriously and getting people more active. I'd love to hear if you have any health goals for 2024 or starting today, and what are those goals for this year, for next year? Sorry.
Yeah, my goals for 2024, of course, keeping in my physical condition. I went out and got myself, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm 6'5", right? So I can't just get typically off the rack suits. So
Okay.
I splurged a bit and I got some custom made suits just
All
for
right.
me and just for
All
my
right.
body. So as a way for me to stay motivated and to keep going forward with my health goals, I got those suits as kind of a reminder, like, hey, they fit today, they better fit next year at the same time, right? So um, it's kind of just a way for me to keep on the bandwagon and just don't let up. For 2024, I'm hoping to do more of a kind of maybe a mental reset, just devoting more time. And I'm sure Kevin and Dr. Neighbors will appreciate this and they'll applaud this. Just spending more time doing some of the things that I want to do from a personal standpoint. Of course, the solo philanthropy, of course, the discussing Black men's health, but also traveling. I have an ambition to get to all 50 states before I turn 50. So
Okay.
um, I'm at like number 29 now. So I'm hoping to get to 3 states next year and just do some more traveling. So some more mental health therapy there.
Okay. That's fantastic. Um, yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to embark on a new physical challenge, cycling, it could change your life, brother. I tell you.
Yeah.
um, there was a guy that was actually out of St. Louis that went. He rode his bike. A brother that rode from St. Louis to Chicago. Great is a great documentary about it. If you find it, it's a father and son actually embarked on that, and it was really great. And so you might, hey, if you want to take up a new challenge or something to ride, get on that bike, and you change your life. But
I'll tell you
um,
what, Keith, I'll get on the bike, you get on the elliptical. I'll
okay,
do it for a week, and you do the elliptical for a week,
all
and I
right,
wanna get your feedback on that.
okay, all right, absolutely. Um, so I always kind of like to end the show with this question. It's a surprise, but I'd love to know right now. And we're kind of closing out the year, but how are you feeling as a black man right now in this country?
As a black man in this country, um,
Yeah, in this country, or just in your skin right now.
man, I'll say this, a couple things, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Number 1, I'll say that I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be here, on this podcast with you. Appreciate the invitation. Um, Thankful for, great family and friends. Thankful for God providing opportunity and ways for me. Thankful for thick skin because sometimes people throw stuff at you, Keith. Man, you want to just go right back at them, right? But um, as a black man in America, it is important that we um, always do our best, which I believe we do. Understanding that there's going to be multiple challenges thrown at us, unfairly thrown at us, and just having the ability to navigate difficult situations with a smile on your face. It's not an easy thing to do. But, brothers, we have support, we have each other. Um, and don't be afraid to reach out if you need that support, because I know somebody is listening um, and is able to support you. And I'm one of those people. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything and lean on each other. We are our brother's keeper. I believe that. So I'm
That's
feeling
good.
hopeful. Feeling
Feeling
hopeful.
hopeful. Okay. Oh,
Feeling
great.
hopeful.
Great message today. I think hopeful is a great word that we all should collectively start using that, because hope takes on many forms. And if we have hope, we can move forward, and our outlook of where we are won't look so bleak. So Brother Mays, I just want to thank you for being on the show today. And yeah, I look forward to my week of elliptical training. And
I'm
you
holding you to it. Hey, everybody that saw this podcast has heard you say it. I'm
get on
holding
the
you to
bike,
it.
and but I definitely want to have you back. Hopefully we can get uh, Dr. Neighbors on and Kevin on, and we'll talk about this collectively because I think we want to hear more. I know one of the things that was discussed is that one of the challenges with studies about Black men and in their health is because we don't really trust to do studies and things of that nature to give a at least a ballpark of where we are in that standpoint, and we have to start to really think about that in a different way, um, so we can help ourselves, and I think that's a great way to do that. So I definitely want to have you back on to talk about this even more.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a reason to be distrusting of some media, and we do have reason to be distrusting of some numbers. But Dr. Neighbors and Kevin, they've long studied this, and um, they'll be able to provide some context as well. And yeah, just wanted to say real quick one more time that the three of us are embarking on a national journey to promote Black men's health. We've got multiple locations in mind. Keith, I know you're in New Jersey. We'll probably get out there to see you as well, and we'd love to have you part of the discussion, man.
And and lastly, and I know we didn't touch about upon this, but I guess for people to really kind of get a handle on things, if they don't want to go and see the doctor, want to take things into their own hands, were there any books or anything that you read, or any like a website that you went to kind of get a handle on some of those things that they needed to know?
I would say what helped me in terms of getting started was just taking that first step.
Okay.
And when I was 419 pounds, I couldn't run. So I got on the elliptical, right? That was something that I could do. I couldn't go fast, but it's something that I did. And I did it repeatedly. Um, Having the ability to fast changed my life. Having the ability to um, m- kind of portion out my food, right? Because before it was just, hey, I like it. I'm going to eat it until I'm just like
Hmm.
completely full in a food coma and I'm,
Okay.
passing out. But just making sure that I'm portioning out my food. So I can't say it's a book that I read, but it was a mindset that I had around I have got to make a change now
Hmm.
so that I can live long enough to enjoy myself in retirement years. And
Okay.
beyond that, when you're in shape and you're not carrying around excess 50, 100 pounds, man, your life is completely different.
Mhm.
And you're able to do things that you didn't expect to be able to do. Like you're able to go out and go hiking, or able to go out and just experience life more. So
Right. Right.
that's what this is all about, brothers, is going out there and experiencing life and getting everything that's owed to you.
So, folks, yeah, he didn't mention any books though, but you can YouTube or Google portioning out your food, fasting, and that you need to do to take the first step. That just means, hey, you might want to just need to walk around in your apartment or outside or walk, just walk to get the mail. That may be things that really start to change your life. So, like once again, as we close out, Brother Colin, thank you for being on today, and I look forward to definitely speaking to you in the new year.
Brother Dent, I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This is Keith Dent from the Black Men Speak podcast. Everybody have a great year, and I'd love to hear, give me some of those goals that you want to accomplish for the new year, and I'll hold you accountable to them. Thank you.